So I just wanted to kind of give you a demonstration today on a couple of the flower shapes. So I'll kind of go over the pink and the purple, but you feel free to do a yellow, more yellow in it, more green, more blue, whatever makes you happy. So I hope you enjoy this. Could easily be cut out of like a stiff cardboard. So if you don't have, the exact shape, just use what you have. Okay, so I'm going to just dampen my brush with water. Just get the brush nice and damp. And I'm going to load in the Berry Cobbler is the name of the color from DecoArt. And I'm going to just tip a little bit into the one corner into the Snow White. And I'm just going to slip slap that on there. Okay, you can dip it into white if you want a little bit more. I love to see a variegation, so I like to see dark and light, and I don't want it to look perfect. I like it to look a little messy, so that just makes me happy right there. So I'm going to wash my brush out. For the purple flower, you can honestly, you don't have to fully load in the brush. You can go half and half like this, just half the brush corner in purple. I used royal purple, and the other half in the Snow White. And you can pull the strokes toward, following the shape of the petal. I got to get a little bit more color on, but don't stress about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going straight onto the surface out of my paint, and it will all kind of brush blend together because it's still wet. It still moves. This is acrylic, but it will stay wet for a little while. So you can have more purple on one side if you want, lighter on the other side. You can kind of play with it while the paint's wet. Once it starts to dry, I just let it dry. I'm going to pick up the filbert brush, and I will load it completely in, I'm using Plantation Pine, and then I'll tip it in a little white and a little too much water on it. And I'm just going to casually fill those in, tipping back into the color as I feel I need it. I'm going to use the 6 filbert again, and I'm going to load in, well, I've dampened the brush with a little bit of water, blotted it out on my paper towel, and then I'm going to pick up the white, work it into the brush a little bit. I want it to kind of move, so you have to have a little bit of water in there for it to move, and it doesn't have to be opaque. Having a transparent stroke is fine. So I'm going to go right on the inside of these little guidelines. Again, you can paint on the reverse side. So when I was shooting the video for this, I realized that afterward that I had the camera reversed, so you didn't see this step. So I'm inserting actually this step and another step. So I'm just going to use the 6 filbert, and I'm going to load it in the metallic pearl. It's called white pearl. And I'm going to load it. I have a little bit of water in the brush so it will flow. And I'm just going to overcoat, just going to go right over the same petals, just giving it will give it a little bit of a shimmer. Now this is an optional step. If you don't have this metallic, don't stress this step. Okay, so I'm just gonna, this will just gives it that little bit of shine. You can kind of see. So now I want to take that 6 filbert, and I'm going to load in some milk chocolate, which is kind of a warm golden brown. And I'm just going to fully load the brush. Again, I've dampened the brush with water. And then I'm going to tip it into a brighter yellow. So, and I'm going to just kind of tap and dab my way across the center of the flower. Oops. Okay, so I'm just going to fill that in. Right in the center. You know, you want movement in there, so it's okay to see the brush strokes. You want to see the movement. Just keeping my brush dirty, moving in and out of the colors. And I'm going to continue, even though this one doesn't have the guideline, it's fine. Just kind of imagine where the center is going to be. Again, everybody's flower is going to look a little different. So what I want to show you now is a little bit of floating. And first off, I'm just going to take the 1/2 inch square wash and I'm going to side load it. I'm just going to put it on one corner of the brush and I'm going to blend it into my brush on my palette. So I'm just giving it a little blend. I'm going to pinch that edge because I may have too much water on there. And then I'm going to float right over the petals around the center. I might layer that twice. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more color and repeat. And it's okay if some of it goes onto your center. I'm going to let that dry. And I'm just going to keep my brush dirty in the pink. And I'm going to tip into my purple color because it's not going to bug me at all if I have a little pink in there. And I'm going to repeat that right around that center area. So this is another step that I had the camera facing backwards, which it's hard to tell because I have to kind of look up, which I should have. But anyway, so after you had floated the petals, which I haven't yet, but when you floated it with the berry color, the berry cobbler color, we had gone around and just floated that. Right in between the petals, right in the deepest, darkest point, I'm just going to brush mix. I'm going to take that berry cobbler and I'm going to tip the brush into a little bit of black. Might be a bit much, but we'll see. I'm just going to try to make a darker burgundy. Okay, I think that's a bit too much black, so I'm just going to tip back into my berry cobbler, move away from the initial blending area, and just make a nice dark burgundy. And what I want to do with this is I'm going to put it right in between. Pick up a little bit more color. I want it a little darker. Right in between those petals, just to give it a little bit of depth. Right like so. Also, what looks really nice is to come through after you've done that. You can come through, and I may have a little too much paint on my brush. Come through, and as you can deepen around the petals, on the petals. And if you lift your brush, you will get this beautiful little, it looks like a little vein line, a little, so it gives that appearance, I should say, of a vein line. So just lift the brush as you walk around the flower. Makes it look kind of pretty. And but I'm going to take that milk chocolate on that corner of my brush, blend it a little bit. Now I don't want it to creep all the way across, so I'm going to pinch that edge. I can even dip into a little water and make sure that edge is clean. And I'm going to float just with the corner of the brush around the center. Now I know I added the red in or the berry in there, but that's all right. That looks fine too. Okay, so now on the flowers, these flowers, I actually used this. It's called Punchinello, and I used it as like a stencil for the center. So I just laid it right through right on top of my flower because you can kind of see through it, so that's nice. And I took a cosmetic sponge. And I'm going to just take a little bit of the yellow, so I'm going to have a little bit of that summer squash on there, and I'm going to load it in that sponge, tap it a little bit, and I'm going to just tap it. I make it into a little bit of white also. So for the decorative line work that I did on here, which is kind of optional, you don't have to do it. Again, I used the white pearl, and I'm just going to get a little bit out on the palette. Really, you just need a smidge, and I'm going to take that liner brush. I'm going to use the 5/0. It's a really good mid-size liner, but it's got a very fine tip on it, which is you can add little decorative strokes or little dots even around your little flowers on that outer part around the petals. So, and that again is just a little stroke, just a little common stroke here. Boom, boom, boom. It helps if you make the noise. So now I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow on my flat brush. And what I'm going to do is to add some tints, floated tints onto my flowers. So I usually, when it's a lighter toned tint color that I'm using, I try to find the lightest tone on that area and add it. So I might, where there's a little bit more white on the side of the flower, that's where I'll put like a yellow tint. And so I'll do a little yellow on the pink and a little yellow on the purple flower. I think I'll just, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a little nod toward, a little sunshine in there. I'm going to add a little bit of Indian turquoise. It's another favorite of mine. So I want to add it in a different area than I put the yellow. I go down toward the bottom of the petals down here. Put a little blue on there. I think that's pretty. Just going to pick up a little bit more of the blue, and I think I'll put it right here on this one. I might pick up a little bit more color. I just think it looks so pretty. I love the color olive green. It's just a bright, fun color, and I'm just going to, I might float the outer edges of my leaves for one with it. Just the tips will be fine. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Just be casual. I have a truck going by, and I'm going to add a little bit of green here, and I'm going to add a little bit of green onto this flower. If I wanted to put a little bit of berry cobbler, which was the pink color that was the initial base coat of my flower, if I wanted to put a little bit of that, it's such a pretty color. I just love it. If I wanted to put a little of that on my purple flower, then I can just kind of float it like so. Okay. And then I might wash the brush out. I might put a little orange. So I have a little bit of bright orange. It's kind of bright, but I like it. And I'm going to put a little of that on the pink because I think it's so pretty. So I might take one of the, where I floated a little bit of yellow and add a little bit of orange. Oh yeah, I like that. Pretty, pretty. Another fun thing I did was I added the Galaxy glitter in the Champagne Stardust color. Initially, that's all I did. I just used the Champagne Stardust. And I liked to just tap it and build it up a little. So I might go over this twice. So I'm just using that small filbert brush, and I'm just going to tap it on there like so. I'm just going to tap it in there. I want it to just kind of lay right around that center. You can go over onto the petals, that's fine. You know, it even is pretty, just tap just a little ways into the center. So just tap just a little in. So I wanted to share with you also, if you have other colors of the Galaxy glitter, and if you wanted to do this, you could. You might be able to see it on here. I've got the Champagne Stardust, but I also have a little bit of the Red Nebula, or it might have been the magenta color right down here, which I can't find, otherwise I'd show you. And if you have a blue area, like say where your blue is more on your petals, you could add a little bit of this right on that side. So that this is Aqua Meteor. And I mean, if you wanted to, you don't have to. So I hope that kind of inspires you to create your little flowers, your little jewels. They look like little jewels to me. They would be pretty as magnets. They would be pretty blown up and put on a wall. Can you imagine that? That would be so beautiful. They can be key rings. They can be pins, of course, or just really whatever you want to do with them. I think even a mobile. One of my friends suggested a mobile with the flowers hanging and maybe paint both sides of them. So, you know, that would be kind of pretty. So I hope that helps and that you're inspired. Have a good day, everybody, and stay healthy.